but somebody basically hacked the Jeffrey Epstein vacation@gmail.com email account and uploaded all of that. And that's where a lot of this drop site reporting has been coming from. But now that it's actually something that the Democrats are paying close attention to, we shall see what happens. And more emails are coming out right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Blow after blow after blow. Oh, hell yeah. All right. Let's talk about why it's increasingly more difficult to feel patriotic about America now that we're on that subject.
Another November day outside the U.S. Capitol. Inside, there was business unusual.
This just doesn't make sense.
A big story just got bigger, with fresh revelations on the Epstein affair. Yet more notes on a scandal. Yet again, they cite the president. In Jeffrey Epstein emails released by the House Oversight Committee. One from 2011 to his co-accused Ghislaine Maxwell reads, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. A victim, name redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Ghislaine Maxwell replied, "I have been thinking about that." Epstein emailed the writer Michael Wolff.
By the way, another side of this Epstein saga that is not getting a lot of coverage is the unimaginable amount of media and investigative reporting that has come out surrounding, Mike is a bit hot, really, the unimaginable amount of media that has come out from drop site news that shows, in my opinion, conclusively that Jeffrey Epstein is or was most likely an asset for the Israeli state. And I know that that is like a no shit situation for many. You're gonna be like, oh, really? No shit, duh, right? Sure. Wait, where is this? Where the did where did my, I'm trying to fix my settings here, chatters. Sorry. Open system mixer. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. NYT is a minute by minute update if you want to know some more deets. Democracy Now! Covered it. Yeah, so that's one of the aspects of this this Jeffrey Epstein saga that's gone a little bit unnoticed, perhaps by design. But every other week there is another article that comes out from DropSite that's like, Jeffrey Epstein was in Kazakhstan ordering Israeli surveillance technology for Kazakhstan. Like, it's crazy. I keep reading them over and over again, but it's strange to me at this point that we do not actually cover it at all in our media. Hold on, maybe I can lower the gain a little bit. Is it working? Is it lowering the gain at all for you guys? No, I don't think it is. Never mind. This is not working. Okay. Well, it's not. Okay. Maybe I can like manually lower it here. This might be a little bit better. Is it still peaking? No, gain is still hot. Might be OBS. No. Okay. Anyway, I'm just like lowering the audio a little bit manually on this side, so it's not hitting the red unless I yell. All right, here it is. This is good, I think. The gain is fine. The volume is now low, but you guys said that the mic peaks, so I'm trying to fix that, but I can't fix it within the software for some reason. So here's what I was pointing to. Okay. An example from the newly released file showing how consultants sought to influence Google search results, buying articles about Jeffrey Epstein being a billionaire pedophile or having a diary of his underage victims, and then boosting articles about his philanthropy. But also, in addition to helping, this is what I was talking about. In addition to helping broker deals between Israel and Mongolia, Russia, and the Ivory Coast, Epstein had a senior Israeli intelligence officer with personal ties to former CIA director Leon Panetta live at his apartment for weeks-long stretches between 2013 and 2016. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, this is one of the most obvious Israel-aligned pedophile, sex trafficking, blackmail networks out there. Why the fuck was this guy traveling to Mongolia, or even talking about like hiring Mossad, former Mossad and former IDF agents for security details for like anti-government business leaders in China at the time? This is before like Xi cracked down on corruption, right? Like, He was having these conversations with Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. You don't have these sorts of conversations unless you are a direct contractor or a direct operative for Mossad. Like, you know how we talk about China trade maxes? Jeffrey Epstein was a power broker maxing, I guess. He just had, that was his kink. Aside from the pedophilia, the other thing he was doing all the time was just like brokering deals. He just couldn't stop himself. I guess that's what it was. You know? Pedophilia and brokering deals. That's what it is. Demanding meetings with Putin rather than his envoy. Yeah, it's just like it's so transparent, and it's crazy that it's always just like Drop Site or Intercept or Democracy Now. All of these other friends of the show and outlets that are outside of like legacy papers that are publishing this kind of stuff. And I don't understand what the fuck is going on here. Like how much longer can you avoid talking about this part? Because Americans see it, right? They see it. They recognize what's going on here. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein to U.S. Special Envoy to Syria, Tom Barak, who is another favorite character on the show. You guys know who he is. He's the one who was like, yeah, Hezbollah has no incentive to disarm, but what the fuck can they do about it? We will destroy them. Borders are meaningless. What is important is what Israel wants in terms of borders. Like, this is what the Special Envoy to Syria and Lebanon, Tom Barak, was saying over and over again. Anyway, here's a email between Jeffrey Epstein and Special Envoy, Donald Trump's U.S. Special Envoy to Syria, Tom Barak. Jeffrey Epstein, in 2016, sends an email to Tom Barak saying, send photos of you and child, make me smile. To which Felix says, well, yes, this does seem nauseating, but it's not like Trump has this guy working on places that have outsized amounts of orphans and other children that cannot be accounted for. This is the type of shit that makes even someone like myself, who is a heavy scrutinizer of conspiratorial narratives, even though I am obviously an enjoyer of conspiracies, I'm very critical of conspiratorial thinking. But when I see stuff like this, and then I see the media refuse to cover it, or the media just like never entertain this stuff, I think to myself, okay, what are we doing here? Like, am I becoming increasingly crazy? Why is there not enough coverage on this stuff? What the hell is going on? Especially because it's not like the media is fond of Donald Trump. This is a great line of attack for Donald Trump. You know, a uniquely unpopular and despotic leader that is moving America in the direction of fascism. What the fuck is the New York Times not all over this shit? You know? Click translate on this. Gustavo Petro went beast mode. First of all, went beast mode. There's never a moment where he's not doing beast mode. Gustavo Petro says a clan of pedophiles wanted to end democracy in Colombia and to keep the list Epstein from coming out. And they sent battleships to kill fishermen from this city. And they threatened the neighbor. How is the people of Colombia going to applaud the invasion of the people of Venezuela? Would we be such traitors and sellouts to our own people? President Petro Gustavo, one of my favorites. Okay, I'm going to be honest. One of my faves. He's always going beast mode, dude. He is the GOAT. I love him. I think the situation in Latin America would be very different if the USSR still existed. Okay, this is the type of leader that the foreign adversary, the scary socialist communist countries would immediately identify as a ally, an ideological ally that's willing to demonstrate sovereignty for Latin American peoples, for Latin American countries in general. Most guilty human in history. Oh, this is the other one. New leaked emails show that Jeffrey Epstein helped arrange talks between the Israeli government, Côte d'Ivoire, how do you say it? Ivory Coast, that culminated in the signing of a formal defense agreement in 2014. Epstein made introductions at held meetings before Ivorian leaders and Israeli intelligence-linked firms. Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire. Okay. Ivory Coast. I'm too American. Shut the fuck up. up, chat. Shh. I'm too goddamn American. Stop it. Okay? And Israeli intelligence-linked firms and individuals that helped lay the groundwork for the deal to help flood the Ivory Coast with Israeli surveillance tech. This is the latest entry in a series of stories about Epstein's links to the intelligence world, including in Africa. Link in next post. So there have been so many articles like this. So many articles like this. But they're all on drop site. They're all on independent outlets. Yeah, this was full audio of Trump saying he broke ties with Epstein after he poached young women from Mar-a-Lago. In this clip, Trump casually admits to witnessing underage sex trafficking and not reporting it to the authorities. 2, stopping in the middle of said underage sex trafficking testimony to promote his spa at Mar-a-Lago where said underage sex trafficking occurred. And then there's an update from Adam Johnson from an hour ago in this email, this tranche of emails that was released by the Democrats. In another email, Epstein refers to Trump almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool. He was so focused, he walked straight into the door. Yeah, like a cartoon, like a cartoonish fat guy floating over time and space, going towards a scent trail, floating whimsically in the direction of a pie. On a windowsill. One of the craziest parts about this is that hey, Jeffrey Epstein, for all my dyslexics out there, Jeffrey Epstein became the most prolific sex trafficker. Not saying that you can enter that field, but if you're dyslexic, you shouldn't let that get in the way of your ambitions and dreams. Whatever they might be. Hopefully, they're not a criminal espionage enterprise for an apartheid state, of course. But look at the way he writes, dude. Jesus Christ. Read the feed, read my airplane logs, and Hawaiian Tropic Contest. What are we doing here, man? He said Hawaiian. Have them ask my houseman about Donad almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door. Donad. Now everyone coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump. Thomas Landon Jr. wrote, because of this, I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump booms from a speakerphone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life. That story will never die, says Landon Thomas Jr., financial reporter for the New York Times. This is in 2015, by the way. And more emails are coming out right now. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Blow after blow after blow. Oh, hell yeah. Daniel Boguslaw, investigative reporter for the Rolling Stone, Vice, Intercept, writes, Epstein writes to his lawyer, have one of your cronies. Oh, God, I can't. I feel like he's giving me a aneurysm trying to read his dyslexic ass, bro. No disrespect to the dyslexics in the chat, but God damn. I guess he just maxed out on the espionage stuff, and he was min-maxing. He just could not write. Let's zoom in on this. This is Jeffrey Epstein, 2012, to Reed Weingarten. Have one of your cronies ask to see the mortgage to Mar-a-Lago, cash from Electricinia's union. His driver, Matt, was the bagman, later made an exec at the Public Co., and the $30 million loan from the casino to Donald Trump backdated. One of the other things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing, aside from being a sex trafficker of minors, was that he was also a prolific writer, despite the fact that he can't write at all. He is functionally illiterate and very dyslexic. But that didn't stop him from sending emails from his Jeffrey Epstein vacation at gmail.com account. And he was literally corresponding with Ehud Barak, with influential reporters, heads of state, other heads of state, and of course, numerous American officials. And he just kept emailing over and over again. Now, the reason why we have all of these emails is not because is not because the Democrats released it, but like part of the reason why we have a lot of these emails is because they hacked his. I think it might have been Iran potentially. That was the suspicion, but somebody basically hacked the Jeffrey Epstein vacation@gmail.com email account and uploaded all of that. And that's where a lot of this drop site reporting has been coming from. But now that it was actually, I think it was Iran. But now that it's actually something that the Democrats are paying close attention to, we shall see what happens. This will become more and more like all of this stuff. All of these emails, all this stuff will, I think, become more important in the normie sphere. Handala, Iranian hackers. It was Iran, right? Russia says they have videos, so it may have been both. I'm not going to lie to you. I trust Iran more than I trust Russia when it comes to Israel-related shit. Russia and America are ops. Russia and Israel are not ops in the same way that Russia and America are ops. So when it comes to covering stuff, like you have to match adversaries and what their actual ambitions are. Russia is a lot closer to Israel than you would think. Sure, they play the role of a regional superpower in the Middle East, and they have their own ambitions. And obviously, Israel is like America's very own, not even like client state, basically, but just like a forward operating base in the region. But Russia is very close to Israel, both by its nationals living in Israel with like their dual citizenship. In maybe, I would go so far as to say that after America and how much Israeli politics and Israeli influence, like Israel's influence, plays a formative role in both the domestic affairs of the United States of America and also its foreign policy, I would say in Russia, it's nowhere near as aggressive, but it's still very much, it's a ever-present force there as well. Because remember, Russian is the third most spoken language in Israel after Hebrew and English, and a big chunk of the Ashkenazi Jewish base in Israel, like the Ashkenazi Jewish population in Israel, and maybe not even Ashkenazi Jewish and not Jewish at all population of Israeli citizens that just say they're Jewish now are Russian. It's a major population in Israel. Russia has more Yakubian tricknologists, it's true. Especially when they unveiled the vault that showed that Jesus Christ was black. When they opened the oldest vault in the world. So yeah, I would say that like this treasure trove of email data probably did not come from the FSB, but more so from, more likely from Iran. Iran is obviously a maximum op for Israel because it's smack dab in the middle of this region and has its own resources and obviously does not want Israeli intervention in the region. You're not supposed to know about that? What? I am a child of Yaqub myself, so that's why I know my history. All right, I'm serious, man. For the good of the nation, why not try to get some of this out there? I would not do it myself, but would pass on to a political reporter. Plus, look at these lies. In response to a message left seeking the Trump campaign's comment on this article on Thursday, Trump's general counsel Alan Garden emailed threatening legal action against BuzzFeed News. Mr. Trump's only connection with Mr. Epstein was that Mr. Epstein was one of thousands of people who has visited Mar-a-Lago. That's it. Mr. Trump has never been accused of having any involvement or even having any knowledge of Mr. Epstein's conduct by anyone, Garden wrote. As a result, I have no idea what the purpose of your article could possibly be other than to try and intentionally and with actual malice defame my client's name and reputation by mentioning him. This is what Jeffrey Epstein responded to, right? He said, he sent this article and he said, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, that after 2 years, I gave to Donald. Hawaiian Tropic Girl, Lauren Petrella. Yes, would you like photo of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen? Now everyone coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump. But what will happen after these jobs? Like nothing, right? I mean, dude, what are we doing? Are you kidding me? What the are we doing? Israel is at its lowest popularity. Israel is so unpopular that I would say millions of Americans convinced themselves after watching Candace Owens videos that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by the state of Israel. Okay, that's how unpopular Israel is. That's how little people care about Israel. That's how much people have disdain for Israel. You could literally have a natural disaster tomorrow, and God forbid, hopefully it does not happen. But if someone were to be like, yeah, Israel did this with their weather machine, I think most Americans, well, not most Americans, but a decent chunk of Americans would believe it. That's how unpopular Israel is. And Jeffrey Epstein is directly related to Israel. In the eyes of many Americans, they see Jeffrey Epstein as a Mossad agent. In the eyes of many Americans, they also believe that Israel has a sophisticated blackmail operation that operates within the confines of the United States, and it's an international blackmail operation. And Jeffrey Epstein was basically the figurehead of said blackmail operation. And there is obviously truth to that, right? There's truth to that. The difference, of course, the problem here is that many Americans don't realize that the CIA also is working in tandem with the Mossad. It's not one or the other. It's not just one. It's both, right? And a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people don't want to see that. Do you have a sense of the public opinion of Israel and China and how the media discusses it? It's not controversial. Everyone is. Most people, I think, are pro-Palestine here. It's not even a thing. He called Donald Ladd dirty, bro. Wait, what? Most prolific child sex trafficker of all time calling you dirty? Goodness gracious. Jeffrey Epstein in 2018 said, I know how dirty Donald is. You see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip. It makes no difference whether it was his money, issue his failure to disclose, plus the fact that he lied his ass off about it makes it clear that he knew it was illegal. This is regarding New York Times, Donald Trump's high crimes and misdemeanors to Kathy Remler. I think he makes the argument that it was Trump's money, making it not illegal, though he also said he only found out afterwards. And the fact, according to the indictment, was billed as services rendered and grossed up. I'm sure his account has flipped anyway. I did talk in detail to Starr yesterday regarding indictments, how Trump can make a deal. Special counsel, Clinton's trash can. Yes, Starr gave me more. Yech. Here's a story from the New York Times that I thought you'd find interesting. The principled case for impeachment is clear. What's missing is the courage. That's so fun. It's top to bottom, I know. Sorry. Read like a Twitter post, brother. Bottom up. Yeah. This is so it's so strange. Also, if you want to know what the Chinese attitude towards Israel is, in 1965, Mao Zedong said on Palestine, Israel, and Taiwan, he said, imperialism fears the Chinese and Arabs. Israel and Taiwan are strongholds of imperialism in Asia. Palestine is the front door of this great continent, and mainland China is the back door. They are Americans who created Israel for you and Formosa for us. Formosa is the OG name of the island that is now also known as Taiwan, where the KMT escaped to in the aftermath of the Civil War, where they lost to the PLA. Bro, can this guy type normally? No, they can't. He can't. If we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, no, he can't. It's not the OG name, it's the Portuguese name. True. My bad. I just mean it's more OG than like that's the reason why he's calling it that. Well, two reasons why Jeffrey Epstein can't type normally: because he's dead. And I think a lot of this information coming out makes people go, if I recall correctly, he did die under the custody of the state under the Trump administration. How strange. He did die in the custody of the state under the Trump administration. I know conservatives are not the smartest people. They lack object permanence, and they think that the initial shutdowns during COVID actually happened under Biden, even though it literally happened under Donald Trump. Or January 6th also happened under Donald Trump, not under Biden. It wasn't Biden's FBI that was doing it. It was Donald Trump's FBI that was doing it, even if you were to blame FBI for January 6th. I know conservatives forget that kind of stuff because it just doesn't fit in their dense skulls. But Jeffrey Epstein did die in the custody of the state under the Trump administration. Okay? So this level of connection to Donald Trump and his willingness to talk about Donald Trump being a dirty, dangerous person, all this stuff, and the level of connection that he had to Donald Trump in general calls into question, once again, how Jeffrey Epstein died. I mean, I never entertained the suicide theory in general. I think it's stupid. But yeah, I did see all of this. All I'm saying is, oh, I didn't see this one. To Peter Thiel, that was fun. See you in 3 weeks. Bro, they are in full flail at Fox. The reply, the 5 wouldn't even say Epstein's name. Want to see what it looks like when Fox News devotes an entire segment to the new Epstein emails that discuss Trump without anyone ever mentioning what they say?
Caroline Leavitt fielded questions about the release of those emails from House Democrats related to President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, calling it a manufactured hoax. That was moments ago at the White House. Our senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy was in that briefing and joins us now.
Totally.
Hi, Peter.
Just a hoax,
and
man.
Sandra, the argument from officials here that was made by Caroline Leavitt in the briefing room a few minutes ago is that there's a tell that shows that these Epstein emails being released today is a partisan exercise by congressional Democrats. This is how she came to that conclusion.
There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., and it is not a coincidence that the Democrats leaked these emails to the fake news this morning ahead of Republicans reopening the government. This is another distraction campaign by the Democrat and the liberal media, and it's why I'm being asked questions about Epstein instead of the government reopening because of Republicans.
And just a few minutes after Caroline Leavitt went back in.
Huh. Interesting. Are the emails leaked or are they fake news? No, the emails are not fake news. Reporting on the government briefing instead of the news, and they have the audacity to call out China for not having freedom of press. I mean, yeah, it's just... Remember, these are privately owned media companies, so it's different. It's not different. Every government does this, okay? Every single government does this. The American government does this. Every government does this. Even... Like, what do you think I'm talking about when I say the very fact that Dropsite is one of the few outlets that's been consistently reporting about the Epstein Israel involvement and connection, as opposed to mainstream outlets that normally wouldn't be fond of Donald Trump? That is the same thing. That is a pliant media apparatus that obviously goes along with whatever the ambitions of the State Department are, even if it's technically Donald Trump, who they are supposed to be antagonistic towards. Okay? There are certain lines that the media does not cross. That's it. And it's the same principle behind it. Just because it looks independent, because they're all individually owned and operated, doesn't change that reality. Right? One of the craziest things happening right now is how there's been a report after report after report showing that Epstein was really an Israeli intelligence operative based on publicly available documents, and yet it has no measurable impact on mainstream media or politics. Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Jeffrey Epstein in Manhattan. We don't care. I'm a Zionist, and I don't think about Israel 1/1,000,000th of the time that you Groypers think about it. It doesn't matter. Calling Caitlin Johnstone a Groyper is pretty funny. Jeffrey Epstein helped broker Israeli security agreement with Mongolia. Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad, how the sex trafficker helped Israel build a back channel to Russia amidst Syrian civil war. Jeffrey Epstein helped Israel sell a surveillance state to the Ivory Coast. I'm somehow not surprised he was besties with Israel. Yeah. Who could have thought? Who would have ever thought that it would be a prolific a pedophilic sex trafficker, you know? Who would have ever thought? What is this? This is crazy. Brother, this is a Groyper account. I don't know the veracity of these claims. The Secret Service memo reads, our new backers are the Jews as soon as they take care of Kennedy. Why was this line erased from history? I don't know if this is a real document or not. I don't know what the fuck this is. But that account does pose wacky shit. Anyway, let's keep going.
Her office in upper press, President Trump posted this on Truth Social. He said the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. He goes on, there should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country. The White House also argued that they have been extremely transparent when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, asking the Justice Department to release grand jury information, for example, something that a judge ultimately said couldn't be done right now. Sandra.
Aw. Peter Douchey. In Fox News' 4 p.m. hour, the network finally tells viewers about the dog that hasn't barked email. Still no mention of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop.
All right, more, by the way, from Capitol Hill today. House Democrats releasing new Epstein emails, some of them referencing President Trump. The White House is pushing back on those emails and how the media is portraying them. Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doucey has the latest.
Peter Doucey.
And, Will, officials here at the Trump White House, of course, would rather talk about their efforts to get the government reopened, something they hope happens later on today. But instead of just talking about that, they are also talking about these newly released emails, including this one from 2011. It is Jeffrey Epstein emailing his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. This one says, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, redacted name, spent hours at my house with him, has never once been mentioned. Officials here, though, are puzzled about why Democrats redacted the name of a victim, since that victim wrote a whole book about all this.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with...
Is that what happened? I don't know. Can't believe they actually quoted it on Fox News. The dog that hasn't barked means very suspicious, similar to the elephant in the room for those, for anyone who hasn't heard that before. Breaking, the New York Times is reporting that Trump personally called Republican Lauren Boebert and Nancy Mace to try to get them to remove their signatures from the Epstein files discharge petition. Mace didn't pick up, and Boebert reportedly doesn't plan on removing her name. Dude, if the conspiracy stuff is the only earnest expression of populism that these guys will actually lean into, and this yields actual information, I will take it, okay? It is a real dog that caught the car moment for the Republican Party that leaned into this stuff for years and years, only to be hoisted by their own petard. I don't think Nancy Mace is going to stand firmly here. I don't think Nancy Mace is a careerist. She's an operator. She's an operator. Sorry, and I don't think that Nancy Mace is going to. I think Nancy Mace could flip. Nancy Mace, I'm so sick of the fake news focusing on Trump and not Epstein victims. Mr. President, fret not. The cavalry has arrived. Representative Woe Vicky is about to save your administration by sprinting to the nearest press scrum and screaming, "Why won't y'all stop lampshading me?" Everyone knows Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, and Epstein victims have exonerated the president. Stop gaslighting and start telling the victim stories. Makes me sick. Those who abuse underage girls need to see jail time. Tell that story. Yeah. Trump ramps up pressure on GOP to thwart Epstein vote. This is why I never considered the Epstein stuff to be a distraction from the other ambitions of the administration, right? Because this is the story. If we're being real, this is the thing that Trump doesn't want out there. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that his base does respond to. It's one of those things that, like, the more populist figures in the administration can't actually cast aside so easily. Partially because they ate off of this. For the longest time, this was the meta, because they could tie Jeffrey Epstein to the Democrats, which, by the way, he's still very much tied to the Democrats as well. Do not make that mistake. Okay, all that doesn't matter anymore. She signed, and you can't take your name off when it hits 218. Discharge petition is on days a few feet away from where Adalita Grijalva will speak. She's sworn in now, and once she finishes her opening speech, she can become the 218th to sign. No sign of any R that might take their signature off. That's that. She signed. Number 218. Immediately after she signed it, the discharge hit 218. Massey and Ro Khanna convened a strategy session with Whip Clark, the top Dem on rules, McGovern, a few senior staff, and other Dems right in the well of the House. My understanding is that the relentless pressure campaign, this is from the congressional correspondent of the New York Times, Annie Carney. My understanding is that the relentless pressure campaign that has included carrot, stick, good cop, bad cop has made her even more dug in, suspicious, and convinced there's a conspiracy at play. I asked Lauren Boebert about September 16 if there was any way she would take her name off the Jeffrey Epstein discharge petition. No, she told me. Oh my God. Oh my God. Reese Gorman, politics reporter for Not Us, says Trump and his team only have until 2 more hours to get one Republican to take their name off the Epstein discharge petition. Once Grijalva is sworn in at 4, she can sign the petition and the names are frozen. No one can remove their names after she becomes the 218th signer. And that was already 5 hours ago. So it already happened, right? Trump called Boebert and is playing phone tag with Mace right now, per a source. So this already happened. They gave her 207 Trump hats. I'm not kidding when I say this. Since the vote is happening next week, Speaker Johnson says Jeffrey Epstein bill will be on the floor next week. We're going to put that on the floor for a full vote when we get back next week. He told reporters he's going to like nuke Caracas or something. The only honest expression of politics for the Trump administration has been his own personal ambitions in deal making. What I mean by this is the only time we have seen any sort of positive results from this administration has been in the direction of his dipshit son-in-law Jared Kushner and Donald Trump making money off of Gulf leadership and Gulf states and implementing development projects, right? And that is why he has actually, in some ways, tried to keep Israel from continuing its genocide full force of the Palestinians, right? And on the other side, within the base, within the caucuses of the Republican Party, the only earnest expression of politics is mania, conspiratorial mania. It's so crazy. There is no real like political ideology that motivates these people. Politicians are ambitious. Politicians are insincere. They're indecent. And they oftentimes will play ball. They will manage your expectations. They'll subvert. They'll change their attitude on things. We see this on the Democratic Party side all the time, right? But there is some sincerity, I think. And this is one of those things. I can't believe it. The most sincere demonstration of a politician doing something that might actually hurt their standing within the party infrastructure, no matter how careerist they may be, is, on the right at least, conspiratorial thinking. They cranked up the cranks for far too long. And now, while they were reliable votes here and there, the cranks are actually fighting back. Because this is, for the cranks, a real issue of consequence, something that they do care about. I think. I hope I'm not being too hopeful here. Once again, you don't normally hear me say stuff like this. I usually say, things won't change. I'm usually in the camp of like, especially when it comes to stuff like this, nothing ever happens. But I do feel like this is one of those issues where people are just like, no, I want to know what it is. Maybe it's because they are maybe it's because they're suspicious, or maybe it's because they are genuinely invested for one reason or another. But, maybe they want to blow the lid off this corruption thing. Who knows? But it is quite remarkable that they've been steadfast in their approach to the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. It's one of the few instances where you see like these right-wing freaks actually continue in spite of the pressure coming from Trump.
The name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her.
House Oversight Republicans are saying Democrats continue to carelessly cherry-pick documents to generate clickbait that is not grounded in the facts. The Epstein estate has produced over 20,000 pages of documents on Thursday, yet Democrats are once again intentionally withholding records that name Democrat officials. Democrats should stop politicizing this investigation and focus on delivering transparency, accountability, and justice for survivors. And officials here basically believe that the biggest tell that all of this is politics as usual from congressional Democrats, as opposed to an effort by Democrats to get justice for Epstein victims, is that congressional Democrats lost all interest in this during the Biden administration, and that is indisputable. Will.
That is indisputable, as is the name Virginia Giuffre, who specifically contradicted what is suggested today by the press and by Democrats from these emails. I do think, Peter, the other big takeaway is the emails between Jeffrey Epstein and journalist Michael Wolff, who seemed to be coaching Epstein through this entire enterprise on how to blackmail President Trump.
If not coaching, then at a minimum advising. And to the point that the White House is making here about the lack of interest that congressional Democrats had during the Biden years, the folks who are on the Democratic side who say now that it is an urgent national security issue to get these Epstein documents out lost 4 years worth of momentum, and now they are back. The White House thinks the timing of everything is suspicious, and basically that they are just these House Democrats are sitting on different things to selectively leak on days that the news might be bad for them, like the day that a shutdown comes to an end. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Thank you, Peter Ducey.
Bro, did you lose weight? No, but thank you for thinking that and saying that. I did not lose weight. I'm gaining weight. I'm fat now. I'm fat again. Trump has been saying the Dems are distracting from the shutdown cave. I mean, there is some truth to that, but I don't give a fuck, and I don't think the people give a fuck either. This is one of those moments where it's like the priority for the average person is to know the truth. The priority for the average person is to find out exactly what level of involvement Donald Trump and like American politicians and international leaders had with Jeffrey Epstein, what the client list looks like. That is the priority for people. It doesn't matter. Trump could be like, oh, this is just a distraction, which is interesting because that's like kind of a Democratic Party line of attack. Oh, don't look at this like very interesting thing that you have a lot of investment in, and just remind yourself that it's actually bad to look at it because it's just simply a distraction. Okay, nobody gives a shit. Quick, brother, please, what is your prediction on this Epstein crud? Yeah, people hear that and they go, distract me more, please. I would like to be distracted with this. Drone strikes, Syrian bombing, what do you mean? Because remember, the Trump administration, aside from Jeffrey Epstein, like being heavily involved with Israel, the Trump administration is chock full of Epstein associates. Okay? I mean, I guess you could say that about like the Democrats as well, because he was a fairly powerful power broker for both parties. But does this not strike you as odd that like every person that Jeffrey Epstein was in direct contact with, whether it be like Peter Thiel, or whether it be any number of different people like that Jeffrey Epstein was in direct correspondence with regular frequency, they're all over the Trump admin, and they were on Trump 1 too. Like Alexander Acosta, Howard Lutnick, all these people. Alexander Acosta was Donald Trump's labor secretary, man. Alexander Acosta was the prosecutor that gave Jeffrey Epstein the sweetheart plea bargain the first time he got caught for sex trafficking minors. Like, what are we doing? Even Bill Barr, who was the head of the DOJ at the time, right? The attorney general at the time, overseeing the federal corrections facility that Jeffrey Epstein was killed inside of was also connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump is directly connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a very long time. Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficked minors out of Mar-a-Lago. Virginia Giuffre being the highest profile victim. Bill Barr's father gave Jeffrey Epstein his first job. It's very difficult to look at all this and just assume that Trump is infallible and totally oblivious, totally unrelated to Jeffrey Epstein. It just doesn't make any sense.
About a Trump media appearance, the author replied to him, "If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the House, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt." On the congressional committee investigating the Epstein affair, Trump's political opponents say it's political dynamite.
Our leadership here is implicated in the largest sex trafficking scandal in the history, not only of the United States, but potentially in the planet. And so this email, especially the 2011 email from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, directly references Trump. It directly talks about how he spent time with one of the victims of his sex trafficking crimes at Jeffrey Epstein's house.
Donald Trump was a friend of Jeffrey Epstein before they fell out. The name redacted from the new emails was unredacted by the Trump administration. They named her as the late Virginia Giuffre, Andrew's accuser. This was a White House standing by their man.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it. Virginia Giuffre, she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her.
Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have long demanded a full release of relevant files for full public scrutiny. A lawyer fighting their case gave her latest views on the latest developments.
The emails are from Jeffrey Epstein himself, pointing a finger of accusation at Donald Trump.
The one thing I'm wondering is, like, why did they cross this line? Like, the Trump administration and JD Vance and all these other people, why did they cross this line? Because the Democrats are always much more careful, right? They're always more careful. They operate as the old guard. They're like, this is how politics is done. You don't talk about certain things, right? You don't talk about certain things like this. This is one of the things you don't talk about. Israel, you don't talk about. Jeffrey Epstein, you don't talk about, right? And I think they just assumed that their base was too stupid to ever make these demands, or they just assumed that the Democrats would never actually betray the established, uniparty elite defense force that they represent. I just, because I can't think of any other, like, I don't understand how they just like leaned into this so much and now it's like exploding in their face. Because, like, look at this. Look, September 4th, 2021. Remember when we learned that our wealthiest, most powerful people were connected to a guy that ran a literal sex trafficking ring, and then that guy died mysteriously in a jail, and now we just don't talk about it? And it's like, brother, he is directly connected to the guy you're the blood boy of, Peter Thiel. And you are already Peter Thiel's blood boy at this point. Why the were you talking like this? Do you see what I mean? This is beyond eating crow, Elon deleted these tweets, but the internet is forever, and it's a good day to dig them up. Time to drop the really big bomb. Yeah. That is the real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is a real reason why they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this post for the future. I think this was a turning point, too. I'm going to be honest. This was certainly a turning point. He got too mad, big egos in the same room. He got too mad, and he basically betrayed himself and the capitalist elite by burning one of the known vestiges of espionage that both parties and all the financial elites have relied on or have worked with just to attack Donald Trump in his weakest moment. And the irony here for Elon Musk is that he is also an Epstein affiliate. Not directly. There's not a lot of evidence for that, but indirectly by way of his brother, Kimball Musk. Kimball Musk is literally all up Jeffrey Epstein's asshole. Kimball Musk, Elon Musk's brother, is directly connected to Jeffrey Epstein. He was dating one of the Jeffrey Epstein girls. To use, I mean, it sounds like a disgusting term to say, but like one of the models that frequented Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. Kimball Musk was in the New York mansion. It's like crazy that he basically cooked his own family. Your Chinese fans on Epstein right now? Bilibili fans learning deep Trump Epstein lore from Lemon Bro. True. Homie, nothing is going to happen to these garbage mongers. They will eventually die. That's what all I'm hopeful for. When it goes to the Senate for a vote to release all the files, which Dems do you think will join the Republicans in voting against it? I mean, of course, we can say Fetterman will vote no, but not because he himself is a pedo, but because it would make Israel look bad. I can see Schumer campaigning against it to protect the Clintons as well. I doubt he would openly vote no, however. I don't know. I don't know who is going to... Yeah, Speaker Mike Johnson says the U.S. House will vote next week on whether the Epstein files will be released earlier than expected. And I don't know... Because, like, I don't know what the Senate will look like for even on the GOP side. Right? Because this is an issue of consequence for a lot of Americans. This is what they give a shit about, right? And I can't even fault them for giving a shit about this. Because Jeffrey Epstein, as I have said time and time again, is the real QAnon conspiracy, right? Not to the same degree as QAnon, but like all of the oftentimes anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that right-wingers have believed in and have leaned into, unironically, are closer to reality with the Jeffrey Epstein story. Like, it's not like a Jewish hypnosis style situation, and it's not just purely Mossad. It's not just for Israel, right? It's not, all of that stuff is wrong. It's certainly an American ambition, first and foremost. It's certainly American espionage, first and foremost. But like, as David Austin Walsh said, basically the Epstein files vindicated the most conspiracy theory brained understandings of American geopolitics, where it's all just corrupt politicians, establishment luminaries, and intelligence agencies, kids, and blackmailing each other, all the live long day. In short, neoliberalism. This is where I do have some sympathy with the post-liberals, because I think we share common revulsion about how social and political system actually works. The difference is that you can be repelled by the status quo and not think, hey, this Hitler guy had a point. Exactly. Man who alleges Mountbatten abuse launches legal challenge. I don't think this is just an American thing. MI5 accused of covering up sexual abuse at boys' home. Court case to address alleged cover-up of British state involvement in the Kincora Children's Home in Northern Ireland. The reason I didn't believe the notion that he was killed at first is because I wrote it off as coming from the online anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But then I learned the actual details. Ehud Barak in 2016. Yeah. And now we know so much more about the Ehud Barak connection, which is crazy, right? Because like those emails came out recently and we found out that like these guys were talking, chopping it up every goddamn day. They were chopping it up big time. Jeffrey Epstein played a formative role in connecting like the Israeli spyware, like selling Israeli spyware to numerous countries around the planet. Why the f was he the guy who was managing all that shit? Epstein owned part of Ohio. How does a guy like this exist? He didn't directly own part of Ohio. Les Wexner owns part of Ohio. And Jeffrey Epstein and Les Wexner were potentially either lovers or something, but Les Wexner basically gave like power of attorney to Jeffrey Epstein at the time, and he was in charge of the entirety of his fortune. But that's the Ohio connection with Jeffrey Epstein and Les Wexner. When are you going to go out? In a couple hours. It's 8:21, chatter. So in a little bit. The people who are abusing these children are Republican, Democrat, Independent, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, atheist, gay, straight, black, white, yellow, red, blue, purple. They just all had one thing in common: money and power. Yeah, no, this is one of the ways in which global capital This is one of the ways in which global capital reasserts its own dominance and reasserts its own power to ensure that there aren't any naysayers.
Really from the grave.
Among 20,000 documents newly released, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor appears to get a mention. In response to a newspaper planning to run a story on Epstein, his actions and associates, someone called The Duke emailed Ghislaine Maxwell and wrote, "Hey there, what's all this? I don't know anything about this. You must say so, please. This has nothing to do with me. I can't take any more of this."
I wish I'd never met him in the first place.
The documents appear to show Lord Mandelson, former US ambassador, was in touch with Epstein in 2016. In November that year, Epstein emailed him writing, "63 years old, you made it." Mandelson replied, "Just, I have decided to extend my life by spending more of it in the US." Epstein wrote back, "In the Donald White House." It is the story that stalks Donald Trump. These capital corridors echo to a near constant cycle.
Chat, I have a question. Is this the Diet Pepsi? Or is this like regular Pepsi? Because I can't tell it's Chinese. Oh, it says 0 calories. Never mind. This is the Diet Pepsi. Or Pepsi Max or 0 sugar Pepsi. Oh, what the f. It has like a... This is a strange way to open. Oh, literally. Oh my God. It says Pepsi 0 sugar right here. I'm so stupid. I didn't see that. Spin the can. I just saw this and I was like, what the f. I just saw this and I saw this and I thought, what the f is this? Turns out you spin the can and it says it right there. We used to have to pull the tab sodas in the 80s and 90s. Have a taste. If it tastes, have a sip. If it tastes like shit, it's Diet. I love Diet.
Epstein revelations, and yet they are matched by White House denials that for now at least keep a distance between scandal and a sitting president. But in this scandal, there is a distance to run. James Matthews, Sky News in Washington.
Well, we'll get more from James in a moment. First, though, let's head to Mark Stone, who's been taking a closer look at the documents released today. Mark, thousands of documents. I know you and your team have been going through them. What else have you found?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are so many documents. It's been kind of overwhelming, I think, in newsrooms around the world, and I imagine in the White House as well. They have been looking through them as much as they can, perhaps in Buckingham Palace as well. Peter Mandelson's home, I imagine he's been trying to access them as well, just to see what is in these documents. Look, I mean, we've got one file here, which is within a file, within a file, within a file, which gives you a sense of how many there are. This is one of the files here. There are emails, I mean, some of it is less relevant than other parts. Parts of these documents are actually just scans of newspaper articles, scans of books that were written about the issue. But within them, and it's kind of hard to find them, you can see here lots of different files. I open another file and you can see within them, if the computer will work, there are. So this is a book that was written, Filthy Rich, about Jeffrey Epstein. So some of it is more relevant than other bits, and the interesting bits take a little while to find. And look, beyond what James outlined in his report there is really very, very interesting stuff related, first of all, to Peter Mandelson, clearly a UK interest there. This email between Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein, an email exchange, November 2016. Now that's important because it is much later than we previously knew Mandelson and Epstein had been in touch. It was publicly known that they'd been in touch in 2010, but not as recently as 2016. And as James said, they discussed the prospect of Donald in the White House. Peter Mandelson writes,
"This is a goon cave, but for news, brother. Anywhere I'm at is a goon cave for the news." So, you know, as a ball knower myself, recognize real. I love this shit. Yes. He's in the war room.
To Epstein, Donald in the White House, will he get there? This was 2 days before the 2016 election, which we know that Trump won. And then they talk about somebody named only as Andrew. And Mandelson intriguingly writes, yes, without Andrew, it would not have gone nuclear. Without Andrew, it would not have gone nuclear. Now, we don't know precisely what that refers to. I've been in touch with Lord Mandelson today. I've messaged him. I've asked him if he's got any statement. He's seen the message, but he has not yet replied. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, and Ghislaine...
Yeah, now known as paedophile, but before formerly known as Prince Andrew, no longer known as Prince, as he was outed as a paedophile and lost his title as Prince.
Maxwell, they are all mentioned in these emails. Fascinating insight, too, between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, they were together, they were a pair, and what we get a sense of is the sort of they kind of scrabbling with how to deal with both the legal storm that it was unfolding and the media storm that was unfolding around them. There's an email from January 2015 where Epstein writes to Ghislaine Maxwell, they need me to say that I was not aware of massage with Andrew in my house. These things have to stay, along with meeting and rebutting those allegations. I need it ASAP. So a glimpse there into the private emails between Ghislaine Maxwell, now, of course, in an American prison for her part in all of this, and Jeffrey Epstein, who died in prison back in 2019.
Lots of work underway, quite clearly, Mark. Thank you. Well, let's bring in James now. And quite clear what we saw today, James, is a...
Did you know that anyone can legally call themselves a baronet in the UK without proof, except him now? That means any average person can claim a higher title than him now? That's such a strange and very funny, weird fact about England. Like, is there like it's almost like a morality police, but for the lordship, where it's like, you can call yourself a baronet, but not a duchess. If you call yourself a duchess, you will go to prison. Off to the colonies with you. Get in the barge. Made up fairy tale ass land for real. It's becoming increasingly clear that part of why Jeffrey Epstein was accepted into elite circles is that the absolute losers that run the world are characters you'd find in the Revenge of the Nerds movies. I mean, that's how it is right now. What the fuck is this? Jonathan Farkas. Jeffrey, please help me here. Is she a hooker? What? I am seeing bleep a little bit. I don't think it will turn into a romance. I'm a bit old and not tall enough, but she seems intelligent and kind. Sommers got an appointment from Trump. She is on the White House Fellowship Commission. It came through Woody and Suzanne Johnson because she bundled Best Jonathan. A two-timer. Worse. Jeffrey, please help me here. Is she a hooker? Sommers, married to Alexander's department store heir, Jonathan Farkas, served on the committee to choose Trump's White House fellows. That's one that the one New Yorker thought Geopol was from the 18th century. Wait, what? You will get in trouble and get your accounts frozen if you try to call yourself a lord and aren't one? Are you serious? Andrew Epstein and Trump were literally together in 2019. Wait, what? In the newly released batch of documents from the House Oversight Committee, new documents show that Epstein saying he attended a meeting in London in 2019 with President Trump and Prince Andrew. He said Trump thinks he is king. No, I don't believe this. This has not been previously reported. Phytux is actually pretty reliable, but I have not seen this before. Where the f did this come from? This would be the biggest bombshell. What? Is red no? Is invitation no? Prince Andrew and Trump today. Too funny. What the f? There is no way. 2019, that's when Jeffrey Epstein got killed, brother. That doesn't make any sense. Are you telling me that he got killed right after he met with Donald Trump? Like, he got arrested and killed right after he met with Prince Andrews and Donald Trump. The emails also say Epstein was at Trump Tower in 2016 right after the election and had Thanksgiving with Trump in 2017. What? I mean, is it Jeffrey Epstein just basically lying to heighten his importance to onlookers? Because these guys do that stuff all the time. They make it seem like they're a lot closer to power than they actually are to other people. Or is it real? Is there actual evidence? Because if that's the case, it's Jover. Oh my God. There will be a Thomas Crooks in every corner of this country. You understand? Like, this will destroy the collective consciousness of MAGA. If there is evidence of Donald Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein far beyond what we already assume is the timeline of like up until 2012, right? If it goes beyond that, and if it goes into the territory where he was already president, that would be insane. That would shock me. It would shock the world. And it would brick every QAnon MAGA guy. They will go feral. This is why Trump is safe, because Epstein is already dead. Ain't no way he's safe. Like, who is he talking to? They are literally in the Situation Room over this. I love that people are like, bro, nothing ever happens. This won't change anything, whatever. Meanwhile, Trump is literally losing his mind. This is from 30 minutes ago from Jim at CNN. A meeting in the Situation Room to pressure a Republican congresswoman to vote against releasing all Epstein files. Oh my Lord. I don't know why I can't find a journalist reporting this Trump Tower thing. Yeah, I need a more credible report on this Mar-a-Lago invite, potentially. Mike Johnson, 8 minutes ago, breaking on MSNBC. Mike Johnson says he intends to put the Epstein resolution on the House floor next week. Yeah, we already covered that. That already came out. Trump on the Jeffrey Epstein stuff a couple hours ago, by the way. Here it is. I have it right here. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Anyway. Oh, is shit about to hit the fan? I mean, Trump is moving like it is. Trump is moving like it is. They're calling it the least suspicious pressure campaign of all time. Trump ramps up pressure on GOP to thwart Epstein vote. The interesting part about this is that, like, the administration is entirely compromised on this stuff. So if people question the allegiances that Donald Trump had with Jeffrey Epstein, right, and they are currently, what's interesting about this is that they will also question J.D. Vance, who is Peter Thiel's guy, right? Peter Thiel is the billionaire that basically put J.D. Vance into the seat of power. Okay, you are traveling, so I'm inclined to believe this is it. That's true. I do have that tendency when I'm flying around. I mean, one day I literally flew for one day, and the Democrats ended up unceremoniously caving on the shutdown. I was in the air. But yeah, J.D. Vance is directly connected to Epstein by way of Peter Thiel. So if the standard, let's say, by Republicans and conspiracy guys is basically like, we want someone who is not affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein, then there's not that many people you can go to. This would be a massive purge. I don't think it'll happen, but it would at least cause a lot of fissure within the base. And it would create a lot of instability and chaos, as it is slated to create amongst the base within the party and the actual people in positions of power.
Political battle ongoing, which has led to the publication of these documents.
Hi, Anna. Yeah, this, make no mistake, is a difficult episode for Donald Trump. Increasingly difficult, no doubt. The story, it drips new detail on a rolling basis. It has done for months. Incrementally, it gets closer to the president. His opponents already see guilt by association, and they are convinced by that. There are many in Republican ranks who too have serious suspicions. Trump's defense thus far, as you said, has been, look, this is all a Democrat hoax, and he's dismissed this contact with Epstein as a long ago friendship with a man he now labels a creep and a paedophile. His defense doesn't necessarily get any easier with these emails, these fresh documents. Interestingly, there's no denial from the White House of the email that says Trump was in Epstein's house with an Epstein victim. Their response was to name that victim, Virginia Giuffre. Her name was mispronounced at the White House. They make the point that she didn't have a problem with Trump. He was professional and friendly to her. But, you know, if we're now saying and agreeing that Trump is placed in Epstein's house with a victim for hours, then, if nothing else, that raises questions of its own beyond him being well behaved. She was a victim of sex trafficking. Did he know that? Why didn't he know that? How could he not have known that? What did they discuss? What did he think a young girl was doing in that set of circumstances, in that situation? It's interesting, the White House chose to name her, Virginia Giuffre. Her family have been very vocal about Donald Trump themselves. They've had a lot to say about the Trump administration, and what they have said is release all the
Epstein was arrested 33 days after supposedly meeting with Trump and Prince Andrew in London in 2019 from the oversight Dems near the top of the document. So why is this not being reported on? I just don't understand. Like, this part of the story is incredibly consequential. This is, oh my God. Late edition of Trump's schedule tonight. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wait a minute. President signs Senate amendment to H.R. 5371, continuing appropriations, AG leg branch. Wait. I don't think he's going on camera for this. I'm going to be honest. Am I crazy? Does it feel like this is more so to like address some of the stuff? Because he's going to be in front of it feels like he's going to be in front of a press briefing. I mean, it's White House press pool. We know what that means. They're going to ask him this question in the most favorable way possible. Right? That's 2 hours from now. God damn it, dude. He surely won't say anything stupid. I mean, judging by his past performance, is there even a chance that he doesn't say something stupid? He cannot help himself. He has to be in front of the camera, but he also famously cannot help himself when this shit happens, where he will just be like, listen, it was only a couple young girls. Me and Jeffrey Epstein, we hung out quite a bit, and I loved hanging out with him because we played games. We played craps together. People change. Who cares? Don't talk about it anymore. It's a hoax. Remember that week-long sequence whenever Donald Trump was called into question about his affiliations with Jeffrey Epstein? He would just turn around and be like, this is a hoax. Everyone that actually cares about this is stupid and bad and wrong. And you're really hurting my feelings. And you need to stop. You need to stop hurting my feelings like this. And everyone will be like, dude, I didn't think you were a pedophile, but it's kind of hard for me not to feel like you're giving pedophile, sweetie. Like, he was just like hemorrhage. He was just attacking his own base constantly, just being like, come on, don't do it anymore. Don't ask. These are vicious haters. He has a little bit of that like Benjamin Netanyahu streak in him when it comes down to shit like this. When it comes down to talking about shit like this, where he'll just be like, like the Benjamin Netanyahu week-long sequence of just being like, we did not kill Charlie Kirk. If we were to have killed Charlie Kirk in a school, we would have killed all the children. After all, we're Israel. You know, like that's what Benjamin Netanyahu was doing. Like Trump has that dog in him as well. Every time he tries to talk about this Jeffrey Epstein shit, he just ends up making people more confused and more suspicious. He ends up making people feel like, okay, you guys did actually diddle kids together, it seems. Your Netanyahu sounds similar to your Obama. I know, it's just on the fly. Okay, calm down. Breaking. Oh, by the way, this was also another moment. The Landon Thomas Jr. thing is actually very suspicious because Landon Thomas Jr. is a New York Times journalist. Why is a New York Times journalist tipping Epstein off about a follow-up investigation by journalist and former NYPD detective John Connolly? Importance, high. Thomas Landon Jr., who is a financial reporter for the New York Times, is sending a email to Jeffrey Epstein with the subject, got another call from John Connolly. Yeah? What is this? Dean Withers tweet about Trump meeting in London. Okay, that's Dean Withers' tweet. Dean Withers is like me tweeting about it. Okay? Or even less less consequential. Why is the New York Times not reporting about it? But what's also confusing about this info that came out is partially because maybe because of stuff like this. This is a New York Times financial reporter. This is a New York Times financial reporter tipping off Jeffrey Epstein about people doing research into him. He's digging around again. Not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he's doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, for what it's worth. He sent this article, this reference, said, keep getting calls from this guy doing a book on you, John Connolly. This is the first one. Jeffrey Epstein in 2019, Trump going to Howard Lutnick's house on Thursday. Howard Lutnick was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor in New York City. Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, he could have known this because he's their neighbors. I mean, if true, the 2019 London meeting is the most consequential. It would prove that Trump's involvement with Epstein. New York Times wrote an article about it. They're writing about it. Epstein went far beyond 2012, and that he was shortly arrested after this meeting and then died under the custody of the state, the Trump administration. Mercury News reported on it July 8th, 2019. Donald Trump and Prince Andrew met up in London ahead of Jeffrey Epstein's arrest on new sex trafficking charges. Wait, what? Trump and Prince, two of Epstein's most famous friends, appeared in photo ops during the president's UK visit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Lemon Brother, did you trigger the prophecy intentionally? The ancestor spirit of world history since you left the country and all of this shit bubbled to the surface immediately? I wonder what Kash Patel thinks these days. Brother, Kash Patel doesn't think. He just reacts. Oh my God. Hold on. Wait, how do I screenshot on is it Alt S or is it Shift S? Oh. All right. Okay. If true, this is an absolute nuke. Hold on. It proves that Trump's involvement with Epstein went far beyond 2012 and that he was shortly, and that Epstein was arrested shortly after this meeting and then died under the custody of the state in the Trump administration. I mean, this is like a direct line of evidence that basically points to Donald Trump directly, allegedly killing Jeffrey Epstein. Why 2012? I thought it went all the way to 2012 in the latest, in the information that we knew. Trump claims he had no communication with Epstein since before he was prosecuted for sex trafficking in 2008. I think it went beyond 2008, right? I thought he had he had done media, like positive media about Jeffrey Epstein. Mega looked at the primary source and confirmed it. No, I know. Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew and Trump today. Too funny. Recall Prince Andrew's accuser came out of Mar-a-Lago. Steve Bannon, can't believe nobody is making you the connective tissue. Brother, were they just saying everything out loud in these emails? What the is going on? I'm going crazy. It feels like... No, we knew Steve Bannon was connected to Jeffrey Epstein. That's another Trump administration loyalist that is deeply connected with Jeffrey Epstein. Remember, Steve Bannon actually went to Jeffrey Epstein and was training him for a potential deposition. And once outed that he was deeply connected to Jeffrey Epstein, he turned around and was like, oh, I was just filming him because I was going to do a negative documentary about Jeffrey Epstein. That never was released, by the way. Weirdly enough, he has hours and hours and hours of footage of Jeffrey Epstein and himself, and yet he never revealed that footage. And I don't believe he will ever reveal the full footage, obviously. Like, it'll be heavily manipulated. I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know how to perceive all of this. Sender, Steve Bannon. Red, yes. Is invitation, no. Message, can't believe nobody is making you the connective tissue. Sender, iTunes, gmail.com. FNB only. Sender, Steve Bannon. What? What is that? Message, Prince Andrew and Trump today. Too funny. I think these are chat messages for the record. Well, if he's subpoenaed by Congress, he'll have to give it up. He's already been in prison once for failing to appear. I don't know how Trump is going to actually protect himself and everyone around him that is so deeply connected to Jeffrey Epstein. The previous reporting on this from Mercury News and Boston Globe and all of these other outlets does not actually feature Epstein being connected. Like, none of them until this moment have revealed that Jeffrey Epstein was a part of this meeting. This is new information. If true, there's an absolute nuke. It proves that Trump's involvement with Epstein went far beyond, I'm not going to say 2012, what we knew about, and that Epstein was arrested shortly after this meeting and then died under the custody of the state in the Trump administration. It's going to be one news cycle, and then something else will take over, another will come of it. Remember, Jeffrey Epstein is the Epstein story. And I talked about this last time this became a big ordeal. But the Jeffrey Epstein story is basically the only way for a lot of Trump's base of support to exhibit some form of like class consciousness almost. It's obviously not class consciousness at all, but it's basically like their version of, wait, hold on. Is my focus is off. All right. Burp. Sorry. I was just looking at I was just trying to fix this. The Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein story, as I said before, is like the closest a lot of the lumpen proles and a lot of like working class Americans have ever gotten to unlocking class consciousness or something that resembles class consciousness. It's because it's like somewhat conspiratorial thinking, even though it is real. It's not a conspiracy theory, right? So this is the most earnest, most honest expression of financial elites in shadowy back rooms doing some of the most heinous crimes of all time without any scrutiny whatsoever, because they're like they're doing it around all of these other like incredibly wealthy individuals. So this is very much a, it's not a left versus right, it's up versus down story. And so I don't think they will give up on it. It's a real motivator for a lot of people. Tim Onion, Pizzagate. If you replace the word hot dog with little boy and pizza party with child sex orgy, you will see the links of these elites go to cover up their sex crimes. Real elite emails. Send me nude pictures of those 8th graders we abused last weekend. Post haste. I am the ambassador to Turkey. Yeah, I mean, literally. Like, they weren't ordering children by ordering hot dogs from like a pizza parlor. They were just straight up saying it in the emails. The emails literally read like, hello, I am Jeffrey Epstein. You are the Prime Minister of Israel. I would like to sell Israeli spyware as I am a part of the Mossad. Like, that's just no OPSEC whatsoever. They straight up were like, oh, of course, we're untouchable. We're the financial elite. We're the people that hold the levers of power. No one's going to come after us. They were communicating with one another with no OPSEC. Like, the average drug dealer around the corner has better OPSEC than Jeffrey fucking Epstein does. Okay? Because the average drug dealer actually is fearful that they might experience criminal repercussions. Jeffrey Epstein and all these other guys behaved as though they would never experience criminal repercussions. Do you understand? See, but that's why the dumb shit QAnon people won't believe it, because any truth that is too obvious, no. Epstein stuff is so... No. The Epstein stuff is one that the QAnon people also believe. Also, it's so direct... Dude. It is so... It is the real version of what they fantasize about. It is impossible for them to avoid this stuff. At most, depending on how insane they are, they might say, oh, Trump was a white hat pedophile or some shit. But I don't think that's going to work. I don't think there's a lot of people in the QAnon side of things that would look at this story and be like, yeah, no, I think Trump was still a good guy in this story. There will be some, but I don't think it'll be all. This also, in my opinion, offers a unique opportunity for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is very well positioned to exhaust this perspective over and over again, to exhaust this line of attack, this angle of attack, as she has been an outspoken critic of Israel now, and also an outspoken defender of Epstein's victims, and also someone who had ambitions of higher office that seemingly was thwarted by the establishment Republicans and the Trump administration, and she has this vendetta now. This is going to be an opportunity for Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has a lot of name recognition and a lot of loyalty within that MAGA base, as a person who's been running around talking about Jewish space lasers and shit for years and years, which sounds so stupid, but that is how you garner loyalty from this base. She is positioned so perfectly to Trump every step of the way, and clearly has the ambition to do so. Same with Tucker Carlson. Same with Candace Owens, especially Candace Owens, because Tucker Carlson, I think, is more of a shrewd operator who I would be more interested to see how Tucker Carlson navigates these waters, because while these guys have been very aggressive in the way that they talk about Israel, they rarely ever blame Trump for it. They rarely ever cast doubt on Trump and his loyalties to America first and foremost, right? This could be an interesting moment. If Tucker Carlson also goes, yeah, Trump is actually cooked. He's like an Epstein affiliate. This is unacceptable. That means like there will be a real fissure within the populist wing, within the base of support for the Republicans. Legitimate question. I can't think of a reason he wouldn't. But why won't Trump just nuke the files or alter them? The entire DOJ is dick riders. It's a good question. It's funny how you were talking shit about Trump and Epstein while in China. Wonder what the news in China is about Epstein. I don't think the Chinese news covers that kind of stuff as much. At least, like, sometimes I'll be watching Chinese TV. You know, when we were at the at the train station, and they're just covering like infrastructure improvements and things like that. No, I'm serious. Like it's they don't. I'm sure they cover it sometimes, and I haven't like encountered it. But I mean, you saw the newspaper, the People's Railway, my favorite newspaper. They're talking about how they're following through on Xi Jinping thought and finding areas of improvement that are necessary for their railroads, for the infrastructure. Yeah. Unlike America, we don't feel the need to cover the shortcomings of our rival. We have too many successes to cover, says Top G. Nobody cares about America as much as America. That's not true. The rest of the world absolutely cares about America. Yet you won't admit you're autistic. I mean, in many ways, I think China is also a very autistic country. Like I said, they have newspapers dedicated entirely to the railroads. What is that if not maximum autism? And I mean that positively, of course. Did you see that big bridge collapse in China? A mountain fell over and destroyed a bridge. Thankfully, they were able to evacuate and close off the area a couple days before. I did. I don't know the full details of it, but like it was crazy that the American like anti-China outlets and all these like anti-China people were basically saying like, oh, dude, their infrastructure is ass. See, this bridge collapsed only months after it was built. And it's like, yeah, dude, the mountain collapsed on it. What do you mean? What are people supposed to do in that situation? Like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. Okay. Hasan Reactions is one of the best ones in the React channel.